we will learn about the tragical history of the life and death of Dr. Faustus, more commonly known simply as Dr. Faustus, is a play by English playwright Christopher Marlowe, 1564 to 1593. It is based on the earlier Faust myth, which was widely known in Europe at the time. Dr. Faustus' summary. Dr. Faustus tells the story of a highly intelligent and ambitious German scholar who decides that he wants more from life than he currently has access to. He feels he has learned all he can about medicine, law, and logic, and that the only way forward for him is to learn magic. This turns out to be a bad idea. A complete Dr. Faustus summary is as follows. Faustus learns magic with the help of his friends, Valdez and Cornelius. He summons a demon named Mephistopheles and asks the demon to offer Faustus's soul to Lucifer in exchange for 24 years of magical ability. Although Mephistopheles tries to warn Faustus about the dangers of hell, Faustus insists on his plan, and Mephistopheles soon returns with a contract for Faustus to sign. Faustus signs the contract in his own blood, and the words homo fuge, a Latin warning for him to flee, appear on his arm. He becomes concerned, but Mephistopheles summons personified versions of the 7 deadly sins to distract him. Faustus and Mephistopheles travel to Rome and antagonize Pope Adrian using magic tricks. While invisible, Faustus steals the Pope's food and boxes his ears. News of Faustus's antics spreads, and Faustus is invited to visit Charles V, the German emperor. Faustus conjures an image of Alexander the Great for Charles's amusement, and also makes antlers sprout from the head of a knight who mocks him. 2 servant clowns, Robin and Rafe, learn a little magic and get caught in some minor misadventures that provide comic relief for the play, namely attempting to get free alcohol. The Duke of Van Holt invites Faustus to his court, where Faustus again impresses nobles with his abilities. Robin, Rafe, and others whom Faustus has tricked arrive to get revenge, but Faustus casts a spell on them that silences them and sends them away. The end of Faustus's 24 years approaches, and he again grows concerned about what he has done. He asks Mephistopheles to conjure Helen of Troy to impress some scholars. One of them asks Faustus to repent, but Faustus ignores him. Just before the stroke of midnight on his final night, Faustus begs for mercy, but devils drag his soul to hell and rip his body limb from limb. The play ends with a brief funeral for Faustus and a somewhat moralizing ending, spoken by the chorus that warns audiences to beware of Faustus's fate. Dr. Faustus is a complex play that includes a number of themes, symbols, and other literary devices. It is generally seen as a blend between a tragedy and a cautionary tale. The myth of Faustus, and especially Marlowe's famous retelling, is where the contemporary idea of selling one's soul to the devil may have originated. Thanks for watching. We will learn about drama The White Devil, written by John Webster. The White Devil centers on the love affair between the Duke of Bracciano and Vittoria Corombona, 2 of the play's many unscrupulous characters. Despite her role as a vicious heroine, Vittoria elicits sympathy in her attempt to endure a deeply corrupt society. In The White Devil, both evil and good characters are drawn into schemes involving political intrigue, adulterous desire, and bloody revenge. Though its plot construction is weak, the play is noted for its skillful characterizations and effective use of dramatic tension and physical horror. The play unfolds with Count Lodovico, a banished villain, seeking to reverse his exile through his henchmen Gasparo, and Antonelli. Simultaneously, Duke Bracciano plans to seduce Vittoria, the beautiful wife of Camillo, with the help of Flamineo, her brother, and Zanche, his accomplice. Together, they plot to eliminate their inconvenient spouses. Isabella, Bracciano's wife, is poisoned, and Camillo is murdered to facilitate Bracciano's pursuit of Vittoria. Vittoria, accused of the crimes, defends herself in court but is sentenced to a convent. Lodovico returns seeking revenge, while Francisco, Isabella's brother, schemes to make Bracciano jealous. The lovers escape to Padua, marry, and face excommunication. Francisco hires Lodovico to carry out their demise. In disguise, the Avengers infiltrate Bracciano's court, where Flamineo kills his brother and Lodovico poisons Bracciano. Francisco reveals his identity, leaving Lodovico to complete the revenge. Thinking his death imminent, Flamineo plans a murder-suicide with Vittoria and Zanche. However, the pistols are empty. Lodovico, seeking vengeance for Isabella, kills them all. Giovanni captures the Avengers, and Lodovico, acting on Francisco's orders, confesses to the slaughter. Lodovico is sent for torture, and the play concludes with a warning against evil deeds. On the surface, John Webster's play, The White Devil, is a dramatic story of lust and revenge. As lovers Vittoria and the Duke of Bracciano plot to kill their respective spouses. Thanks for watching.
Hello everyone, let us see the drama All for Love by John Dryden. The play begins with Serapion, a priest of Isis, discussing the fact that there have been many dark omens manifesting in the natural world recently. Alexis, Cleopatra's eunuch, suggests that this is nonsense and warns that Cleopatra's relationship with Antony. As the play opens, Serapion, a priest, is describing several foreboding omens he has witnessed when Alexis, the eunuch servant of Cleopatra, enters. Alexis dismisses Serapion's talk of omens because he is more concerned with the state of his lady's relationship with Antony. Cleopatra dotes on Antony, but lately he is depressed and distant, preoccupied with the looming threat of Octavius Caesar. Alexis fears Antony will leave Cleopatra. Antony is visited by Ventidius, a Roman knight and an old acquaintance of Antony. Afraid that Ventidius will persuade Antony to return to Rome, Alexis announces that the Egyptians will be throwing an extravagant party in honor of Antony's birthday. Ventidius disapproves and scolds Antony, saying that Cleopatra has quite unmanned him. Antony will not hear anything against Cleopatra, but when Ventidius offers him 10,000 soldiers with which to fight Octavius in exchange for leaving Cleopatra, Antony agrees. When Cleopatra hears the news, she goes to see Antony and brings gifts for his soldiers. Antony blames her, saying that if he had never fallen in love with her, he would still be safe in Rome with his family. He also reminds her that she is the former mistress of Octavius Caesar, though he still deigned to take her as his own mistress. Cleopatra defends herself, saying that while Octavius may have had her body, Antony holds her heart. She shows him a letter from Octavius. In the letter, Octavius offers Malice to spare Cleopatra's life if she will betray Antony. When Antony sees that she has refused the offer, he and Cleopatra reconcile, much to Ventidius's dismay. Antony is visited by Dolabella, another former friend from Rome. They have been on bad terms because Dolabella is also in love with Cleopatra. Together, Ventidius and Dolabella try to persuade Antony to return to Rome, but he refuses, so Dolabella brings out his hidden weapon. He has brought Octavia and the children to Egypt. Under the influence of his family and his old friends, Antony agrees to leave Cleopatra. As Alexis is informing Cleopatra of this news, Octavia enters. The women argue, but Octavia maintains that Antony belongs by her side, even if he loves her less than he loves Cleopatra. When Octavia leaves, Cleopatra fears she has lost Antony for good. Dolabella arrives bearing Antony's farewell to Cleopatra. Antony feared that if he said goodbye in person, he would lose his resolve and be persuaded to stay. With Alexis's help, Dolabella and Cleopatra trick Antony. When Ventidius and Octavia hear that Dolabella and Cleopatra have become lovers, they share the news with Antony to convince him that he has made the right decision to leave. Antony, however, refusing to believe it, asks Alexis about it. When Alexis confirms the story, Antony becomes enraged. He visits Cleopatra and Dolabella, who proclaim their innocence, but Antony will not believe them. When she sees Antony's jealous rage over Cleopatra, Octavia takes their children and returns to Octavius, abandoning her attempt at reconciliation. Antony climbs a tower to watch the battle between the Egyptian and Roman naval fleets, but to his horror, he sees the fleets join forces. He believes Cleopatra has sold him out to Octavius. Meanwhile, Cleopatra unsuccessfully tries to kill herself with a dagger. When Alexis brings word to Antony that Cleopatra has killed herself due to her grief at being without him, Antony tells Ventidius to kill him. Ventidius refuses, killing himself instead. Antony then falls on his sword, and Cleopatra finds him as he is dying. Convincing him of her innocence, they reconcile before Antony dies. Cleopatra purposefully gets bitten by a poisonous snake. At the end, Serapion finds them joined together in death.
Thanks for watching. We will learn about Pygmalion is a play by Irish playwright George Bernard Shaw, named after the Greek mythological figure. It premiered at the Hofburg Theater in Vienna on the 16th of October, 1913, and was first presented on stage in German. In the heart of London's Covent Garden, a diverse group seeks shelter from the rain under St. Paul's Church. Among them, Mrs. Eynsford Hill and her daughter Clara await Freddie's return with a cab. A chance collision between Freddie and a Cockney-accented flower girl, Eliza, sets the stage for an unexpected encounter with Professor Henry Higgins, a phonetics expert. Intrigued by Eliza's accent, Higgins boasts that he can transform her into a refined lady in 3 months. Colonel Pickering, fascinated by phonetics, joins forces with Higgins, and a wager is made. Eliza, aspiring to work in a flower shop, reluctantly accepts Higgins's offer. Under Higgins's rigorous training, Eliza undergoes a transformation. Meanwhile, her father, attempting to blackmail Higgins, ends up receiving money and inadvertently stepping into middle-class morality. At a social gathering, Eliza's refined speech astounds the guests, but Higgins and Pickering overlook her contribution, causing Eliza's frustration. She leaves, questioning her future. The next day, Higgins discovers Eliza's disappearance. Mr. Doolittle accuses Higgins of ruining him, having unwittingly gained wealth and a forced middle-class life. Eliza agrees to attend her father's wedding, rejecting Higgins's attempt to reclaim her. In a moment of reflection, Higgins admits missing Eliza and admiring her newfound independence. Despite his plea for equality, Eliza, determined for respect and independence, departs with Mrs. Higgins, leaving behind a transformed flower girl who found her own path. Thanks for watching.